Today, as part of our Business Spotlight program, we're with Will Conway today. He's the Chief Technical Officer in Rex Pharma Limited, and they're based in Dublin. So over to you, Will. What is it you do, and how long have you been doing it?
Thanks, Kevin. So I work in Rex Pharma. We are a market access specialist company, and we work with clients in US, UK, Canada, and Japan. What we do with these companies, typically they'll be phase one clinical trial manufacturers. When you're executing your phase one clinical trial protocol, and you get to the end and you're looking at phase two, Europe, obviously, it becomes a port of safe entry for recruiting new enrollees for your phase two protocol. We offer great structures here with regards to the setup of clinical trial centers and 720 million potential enrollees for your protocol. And then at that point, the small to medium sized pharmas out there, double digits, triple digits in headcount, will rationalize, do we set up a local European office and go through the issues of headcount, administration, recruitment, finance, and tax and legal, or do we outsource this and find a local partner? So that's where Rex Pharma comes in. Typically at that point, people will rather outsource. And so you have these clinical manufacturers going to phase two outside of Europe looking for market access into Europe. And so we are enablers in that scenario. We have a license application in at the moment, due for receipt in 2 months' time. And with that license, we're putting clients' products on our license in an expedited onboarding process. And at that point, we will work with you to certify your product at time of importation and go through a whole technical process. We have clinical pharmacists here who endorse your medicine and enable it to enter Europe legally and compliantly within the regulations there on a license. So we're your local outsourced partner here in the market. At that point, then it is back over to the sponsor, and they can distribute onwards from their depots to their clinical trial centers and fulfill orders and clinical trials. So it's just that legal technical piece that actually is really critical and oftentimes very challenging and timely to set up. Now, as you could imagine, people are rationalizing their supply chain at that point, and there are changes to be made, and we obviously readily accommodate those changes with our clients as well. So we provide a wide range of support with regards to audits, audit services, and supply chain selection. We also have a service where we work with both clinical and commercial manufacturers to go through the process of quality management build-out, training, development of artwork and development of products, as well as serialization. So it's quite a wide-ranging thing. And I must say, Kevin, one of the USPs that we feel is important to call out as well, as a new business, we are lean and agile, and we tailor our services to our clients at that point as well. And something we find with clients is sometimes they struggle to get service level with existing large, similar services like Rex Pharma. But because we're niche and nimble, we can actually put our clinical pharmacists on the calls with you, our QPs, as we call them. And we know that our clients, particularly North American clients, really appreciate having that direct access to the clinical pharmacists and QPs on the calls to help them with problems and resolutions and their projects that they have ongoing. So, I mean, this is something that, I said, is a new business. We've been working on this for 8 months. The team I have on board have been with me for 5 years. I've been a QP for 8 years, actually, and working in the industry for 20. So it's something that has been building for some time.
Okay. And, starting, you're in a kind of startup phase in the business, albeit you've a long time preparing for it, if you like. So what, one of the biggest challenges you met or encountered when you were starting up, and how have you met those challenges?
Yeah, great question. So when you're a new business owner, you're going to be a small to medium-sized enterprise, effectively. So you don't tend to have a huge amount of profile at that point. And our clients actually also are small to medium-sized enterprises. We're going from anything from a man and a molecule all the way up to that 3,000 to 5,000 size headcount, and that's our preferred client size. And so those companies sometimes also have challenges with profile and as well, and are geographically located different to where I'm based, which is in Ireland. So connecting with those potential leads and kind of joining up that service to them can be probably my biggest challenge. Now we have an 8-point strategy that I'm working on at the moment, going through the stages of website development, which is almost ready for launch next month. Networking, be it online, virtual, in person, and also attending formal events, conferences, and doing publications and advertisements on platforms like this.
And so, yeah, so it's about kind of getting your name out there and getting people aware of the service available here in Ireland.
You just have to throw your shoulder to the wheel and work at it. Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, and I think you had some businesses before. Is that right? What would you attribute the growth in those businesses to?
This is my 4th company. I've been working providing professional consultancy services to the pharmaceutical industry for a number of decades. I mean, for me, businesses are all about are basically accumulations of people coming together under the same message, which is a strategic goal. And you know, I've been lucky to work in some fabulous companies with some fabulous people. Very lucky. I've worked in the large pharma where you learn you get a great pedigree and grounding in how to do things correctly in big pharma from Pfizer and Wyeth, and gradually my career progression has gone to smaller pharma where you tend to get more of a kind of hands-on approach and more of a horizontal approach with regards to skill acquisition, and you have to do it all effectively. So I think that kind of approach helps with regards to just gaining skills and figuring out how different parts of the business work. But then also I've had some great mentors, Kevin, and some great fabulous coaches that I'd love to call out at this point in my career, and still do. I still enjoy that, and I think it's hugely important to business owners to maintain that support and that structure, just to keep them get supported and give them good direction when they get stuck. We all get stuck. So that, you know, I try and give that back and that mentorship back to the community whenever I can.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm a big fan of business coaching. Yeah.
Right.
So that's the growth. So as an employer, what have been your biggest learnings, you know, since you began in business all over the years?
So one thing that I've learned, it's kind of like a filter I use now actually, is when you experience an increase in drawing demands for resource, when you have a new project coming in and you need help, it's the ebb and flow of new clients and such, is when to outsource versus when to hire an employee or a temporary employee, and it's a tricky one because obviously it's a timely, costly process to go through the recruitment and the interviewing process to try and bring on somebody, and quality candidates in the quality pharma space are short at the moment. So do you bring that person in? If you can, great, and you secure knowledge in the organization, it becomes a potential add-on, potential service that you can build and grow on the back of organically. Or do you go inorganic and acquire you know, a service external? Yes, that's great, you get what you need quicker, but when you part ways, that knowledge and that kind of that product know-how and experience leaves too. So it's a trade-off. For me, really, when it comes to also another thing I've learned, you know, the recruitment process is key because it's a small business and it's boutique, and we need to hire the right people who are similarly inclined and willing to work hard for the client and for us. So the fit is incredibly important for us. So we have a rigorous enough interview process.
Good, good. Yeah, because again, I think the phrase that's coming around a lot is, you know, hire slow, fire fast. You know, like
Yeah, there's a bit of that there, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, spend the time up front getting it right, getting the profile right, and as you mentioned, the fit. How does it fit with the culture of the business, and you know what it is we're doing going forward for both people involved, really, yourselves
Right.
and the employee.
Yeah.
Just moving on, then, you know, how do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
I would never claim to say I've cracked this. It's still something I'm working on, and it's an interesting question. It's timely because I'm in the middle of inspection preparation for my license. The Irish regulator is coming to my offices here in 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and we're going to be subject to a rigorous process to acquire our license. You can imagine we're putting in a lot of hours at this stage, and so the work-life balance is not working out so well this past month for at least myself anyway. Typically, and that's the life of quality, I have to say, kind of ebbs and flows like that. Typically, in a normal week, I actually am a big scheduler, so I like scheduling. And it's good logic, I think, that carries over from work into personal life. When you put meetings in your calendar, you typically will make them, and that's fine. And I think from a personal perspective, I'm pretty precious about that as well, and will always schedule dinners and coffee meetings and so on with my family and my network. And it works because if it's in your calendar, you'll make it.
That's a very good point to make. Yeah, yeah. And not a lot of people do it. Yeah. I mean, we get busy in business and we can't, the time tips get more and more into the business and the personal stuff get pushed out. So yeah, I like that, scheduling the time with your family and making a point of turning up. Exactly. No, very good. Very good. So just going back to we kind of touched on it, I think, already, but what qualities do you look for in employees, and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment?
So we talked about that compatibility aspect, right? So I mean, for me, from a skill set perspective, I would suggest more of a self-starter. Somebody with a little bit of experience and just that ability to manage themselves and manage their time independently of being continuously kind of managed by another leader. We work now more than ever in this post-COVID world in a hybrid, if not remote environment. And we have a remote operation here ourselves. Pharma is very much like that. It's a very international business. So if I can get somebody who works from their home office for an extended period of time with frequent touch points who can self-manage, I really appreciate that. Certainly somebody who is then also reliable is going to be huge, because one of the things we do, which is one of our key products, is audits. And if I can take a candidate, an employee, and put them on an audit, which is in a foreign country, in a pharmaceutical plant, sitting in a team with, sitting in a boardroom with quality leaders, having difficult conversations, that does require a bit of mettle in the candidate. And so if they can withstand that and go through that and support that, I really appreciate it. It's something we value hugely here at Rex Pharma. You asked about fostering a positive, productive environment. I'd certainly say something that I'm keen on is, and I did touch on obviously the fact that we are remote, and I know in this environment people appreciate that. So that's one aspect. Another aspect that I'm hugely interested in is personal development and career development. So something that I push here and personally manage is the mentorship of and coaching of candidates we have in-house. So in scenarios where we have new clients, new products, new projects coming on board, or changes really, I'll always sit down with the individual involved, walk them through the scope of the project, make sure they understand what it entails and what the expectation of us is, of the client is, so that we can give that bespoke service to them. And then also I'll work through the compliance regulations, pull out the regulations with them and socialize them with them so they understand the pitfalls and the framework within which they must work. So I think that point of, if I hire somebody, I'm going to develop somebody, is something that we're huge on. And that's probably key to that positive environment, I think.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, and again, not a lot of employers focus in on that, I find, anecdotally anyway.
Right.
But yeah, it pays back in spades if you get it right. Yeah, definitely.
It's an investment in time in the person. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely an investment. Yeah. Okay. And I suppose just to round off, Will, what are some common misconceptions about running a business, and how do you address them?
It's a great question. I think from a misconceptions perspective, I'm very active online in LinkedIn. I went to business school there recently, not so long ago, and something you encounter time and again, I find online and in these places, is the concept that there's a lot of encouraging and positive energy out there for people who potentially have a business idea or a product. They're encouraged to set out and set up a business, and anyone can be a business owner is the logic. I would think that's a misconception, because certainly from a risk perspective, not everybody's comfortable with the risks and the volatility and the complexity involved in being a business owner. This concept of having to chase contracts, having to work, and the uncertainty of having worked hard for new business, and the uncertainty of remuneration effectively is a challenge, and not everyone's interested in that. A lot of people are genuinely better suited employed in employment. I think it's like from my perspective, I think it's like an 80-20 Pareto kind of split on that one, that 20% of people are probably well suited to entrepreneurship, and maybe 80% maybe not so much. And with regards to addressing it, I guess I would certainly suggest that in my perspective, again, I've been involved in masterminds and coaching and mentorship myself, believe in giving back. And sometimes I am approached, oftentimes actually, by friends and colleagues about business and business advice. I had a friend there recently who was in setting up a new business, and through my advice and feedback, she managed to go back and debate her equity and triple her equity in the company, which was wonderful, and I'm delighted for her. I've also had friends over the years who, one chap was going to set up a business where he was a photographer, and when he went through it and we teased out the details of the process, it turned out really he was kind of again drawn to all the negatives and the risks and concerns. And when I pointed it out to him, I think he realized quickly enough that he wasn't comfortable with the idea of being a business owner, and shied away from it in the end. And I think that was a great result for him too. He's very comfortable permanently employed, and that suits him very well. So I think if you can give back and kind of contribute that way and pay forward what I've received over the years, that's the way to go.
Fantastic. Well, listen, it's great been talking to you today. Some great insights there for our viewers, and really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Thanks again.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. Thank you. Nice to meet you.